So in front of me I have two hard cases. Normally these cases would be used for transporting a camera, for an example, but in the G-Shock community we like to put our G-Shocks in them just for extra protection. It's a G-Shock thing. In the cases there is this foam and it's pre-cut slightly, so what you do, you just sort of tear pieces out. And what I do, I usually take and put that into the slot like so. It's been good for the sort of first few months, but now after 8 months it's starting to sort of go dry and starting to leave crumbs behind. What do? Do I buy a new foam, or is there an alternative? Yes, there is. There's this. So this is a harder foam and much more durable, and if you want to buy this sheet, you just look for tall insert or tall tray inserts for this sort of material, and the make of this one was called Sealy, if that means anything to you. But it's broken down into several layers. You've got 1, 2, 3 on the red, and then you have a very fine black layer. Let me give you a demonstration of how easy it is to cut it. So using a very sharp knife, you sort of just sawing your way through like so, and I should do that on the other side. This is just to give you an example. Now you can choose what depth you need, and in my case, I've actually used 2 of these layers. So I've gone through the first one and then partial into the second one. So once you have it cut, you just stick your finger in there and then you can just sort of tear the first layer out. And that's your first one, and then if you wanted to, you can go further in there and work your way down. Anyway, you get the idea, and look at the result on that. Let me give you a quick tour of the outside of the smaller case. First off, you have these little eyes where you can put padlocks in to keep it all secure. You have a nice big thick handle, and notice that it has this bracing all over. This is really to keep the strength in, and it has really big hinges. Did I say big hinges? They are massive. And at the front here it has this little screw knob. No, it's not a volume adjustment. This is when you take it on a plane, when it's pressurized. You won't be able to open it when you land. So this basically allows the air to rush in so you can open it using these 2 very thick deployment locks. So in this case, I have all my vintage G-Shocks. Well, the ones I use the most often. Oh, that's a bit dusty and vintage in there. Let's sort that out. Now I've already done a video on most of these G-Shocks. So here down the bottom I have the very first G-Shock I bought. Let me just give you a quick look inside. There it is, look at the red. Anyway, this was bought in 2000, and this is the G311, and this was the very first sort of G-Shock with multicolored layer LCD, and it's still all original. It's got some bits missing, but hey, it's still there, and I don't really wear it that often. This is Mr Rangeman's original G. With the little offcut, I've made some little pieces of watermelon, and this just helps for when I push it back in. Drop the clasp end into the hole there, and then it's just a matter of pushing it down like so. How easy is that? At the top I have all the squares, and starting here is the DW. Well, actually they're all called DWs. So let's just say that is the 5600C, that is the 5000C, and this is the original G-Shock from 1983. That is the 5200C, was the one that kicked off with the hockey slap shot. You remember that advert? Well, that one really did make the G-Shocks stand out. This one was actually pretty much of a flop to begin with. Just to add that I have done a review on all of these G-Shocks, apart from this one. So if you want to watch that, just go into the playlist and you'll find them. But I want to show you this one here. I've actually been modding this one a little bit. Now, I've managed to get the original bezel, well, not the original, the sort of aftermarket one, which is from the known Brazilian company. And I've fitted a resin bracelet, and this is from the GWF-D1000 B5600, the Bluetooth, and I wanted to sort of give it that sort of modern look. If you want to see what the original looked like, then here is what the original looks like with the bezel. Well, this is an aftermarket bezel. The strap is all original. I'm not too sort of excited with the round version. That's why I went for the square bezel. But hey, that is what they look like. And these two here are the 5900Cs, and these are with the Cyclops. This was the very first G-Shock to feature that. It was also the very first G-Shock that didn't have the backlight. This one here is all original, including the soft sticky bezel, while this one has the aftermarket bezel and it has the light up there because they refreshed it with the modern one. So I'm on the hunt for the original bezel or an aftermarket one. I have covered this before, but I just want to mention that the 5900C, the one I'm holding, was the actual G-Shock that kicked off G-Shock much more than the 5200 with its hockey slapshot puck advert. This one also brought G-Shock back to Japan, so it basically made it worldwide famous. And so you have to thank this one here, the Cyclops, that doesn't even have a backlight, to where G-Shock is now. As mentioned, these are the vintage G-Shocks that I do wear. Now I do have sort of doubled up on a few of these and also have some tripled versions as well, but these are the ones I do use quite often. Anyway, that is enough of the vintage ones, and now for the ultimate case. This is basically exactly the same as the smaller case, so I don't need to go around and show you what it has. It still has the little volume button in the same place. Well, you've seen the intro. Now this is what it looks like in the daytime. Now this is my regular G-Shock collection. These are the ones I use the most. You probably thought I had a lot more, but actually I'm more about using my G-Shocks. I do have a lot of G-Shocks, but these are sort of ones that I just look at and maybe to flip for other watches. You know, this is how I do it. And these are the ones I use the most, and everyone has its purpose. So let me explain each one in turn. Before I go any further, I'd just like to point out that these are all the men. I have the Rangeman, I have another Rangeman, I have the Mudman, I have the Riseman, and of course, I need the Frogman. So let's begin with the first one, and that is the Rangeman, the new GPR-B1000. And this one is the G-Shock I take when I just want to have the traceability, this sort of tracking, and to get back. I also want to take those point memos, and I want an accurate altimeter. This has that GPS side. Also, the battery just never wants to die. Where you see my videos when I travel to Switzerland, it just doesn't want to end. So this is the ultimate G-Shock for me. I mean, I have been asked, what is your best G-Shock? Well, it's not my best G-Shock, but if it was a G-Shock that everything failed and had to choose one, I would choose the new Rangeman. I am Mr Rangeman, of course. Next to that is the Gen 1 Master of G Rangeman, the GW-9400. And I'm sort of modifying this one a little bit, so it's a little bit in the prototype stage. But what I've done, I've removed all the print off the dial. Look at that. And I'm going to sort of do a later on video about this, but just to give you an idea, well, at the top here it has this subdial, and on the original it has all these little black lines. Well, the thing is, because the LCD is so fine, you don't really notice that. Let me give you a little example. Look at the barometer. Did you know it had that there? This is almost all original, apart from the carbon fiber strap that I've put on there. Look at that. Now this really does add to the durability now and makes it very long lasting. Next to the Rangemans is the G9300. It's not the GW because it hasn't got the multiband 6. Now, why did I choose the Mudman? Basically because it's got those big, thick, mud resistant and dust resistant buttons, so it's perfect when I'm working on my vehicles or on the house. It has a really good compact size and it's quite round as well, and it has nothing sharp that you can actually catch on, and because it's very light you can wear this all day long. Now, it has a couple of sensors on there, but mainly I wear it for the time and basically for all the other G-Shock features like the alarms and the timer and the stopwatch and so on. But this is my ultimate G-Shock for when it's getting really tough. Now, why didn't I go for the GW version? Well, mainly because of the cost. I can't really justify spending nearly triple the amount just to have multiband 6. The other good thing is because I don't wear it that often means that the battery lasts a lot longer because it's not having to look for the signal each evening. Next to the Mudman, I have the GW-9200. This is the Riseman. Again, I've done a little video on this one, and the reason why I like this one is because they're getting collectible. Also, it's a really practical size. It's very thin and very sort of similar to like the square G-Shock size, but what I like about this one is that it has that barometer side, which is really accurate, and I do like the subdial, how the information changes, but I do like that more when it's on the barometer. This really is my little practical little buddy, especially when I want to keep check on the weather. Now, I don't wear the Frogman that often. It's basically my tool watch, and because it's divers rated, it means I know that it's going to be absolutely the perfect tool for when I go snorkeling or when I'm going diving. This is the one I choose. It's also the heavy one as well, and it's got a big sort of lug to lug, and it's also got that long strap, and it just feels better in the water. On dry land, I'm sorry, but this is just too much of a bigger watch. I mean, it's not the size of it, it's actually the lug to lug. It just overpowers your wrist, and it's very top heavy, being that it's all stainless case. You're probably wondering why I've got a Fenix 6 Pro sitting in here. Well, basically it's because the Rangeman, I don't really use it with the app. I'm more of a standalone on that. But if I need to plan a route, then yes, the Fenix is a lot better and it has a little more detail. So this is more practical. It's also in here because of the box, and I will show you later. And right in the middle is the Max 69 if you've been following my channel, and this is the GW-B1000, the Bluetooth, and this is on a leather strap, a suede two-tone leather strap, and notice that I have reversed it, so I now have genuine leather on the outside. I've removed the leather keeper and I've put a G-Shock keeper, and I've also added a bit of vintage buckle on the end there, which is made in Japan. The bezel is a vintage retro style, so it already comes like this, but now I've painted the protection and the G-Shock. This is sort of to represent what's on the Road Warrior on the Mad Max, because they use BF Goodrich, so I thought I would just give it a little bit of that in it. Next is the Gulfmaster, and this is the one with the quad sensor. So it has the A, B, C and D mode. D being that it has the dive meter. Now, what do I use this for? This is when I'm doing mostly my kayaking and I need that tidal sort of information. And it also has the barometer on there, which I really do like. Now, I haven't really used the dive function that often, only to sort of drop it into where I am with the kayak and sort of give me an idea of how deep it is. So it's quite practical with that side. But what makes this really, really cool is that I've now fitted it on a resin bracelet that has the diver extension. It also has some micro adjustments and it has some very fine tuning. So when your wrist swells up in the summer, then you can quickly adjust this without the need of tools. And in the corner, I have another Master of G, and this is the Gravitymaster. Now, this is my traveling companion because it has the GPS adjustment. It also has the multi-band 6 and it also has the connectivity to your device. So it is the ultimate traveler, and it also has the world time. And I like the app connection on this one, even though it has a very sort of primitive functions where it only has the alarm, it has a timer and a stopwatch. But the thing is, this thing is so accurate, and that's what I need. It is just for time. It also has one of the most powerful backlights I've ever used, and this is a torch. So when you're trying to hunt in the dark in a foreign place, then this is the ultimate thing to have on your wrist. And lastly, I have the GD350, and this is the only G-Shock I have that has vibe alert, and this is the perfect timer, the perfect stopwatch. It does everything that's basically to do with timing. I also like the vibe the most because this is the get me up watch. This is to notify me when I'm in a busy environment, and it's light, it's usable all day long, and it has the best sort of negative display I've seen. The Rangeman is an MIP display, so you can't sort of put those together, and I really do like the size of it. I like that it's round and square at the same time. So that is the state of the collection in this box, and as always, some say I'm a tool. And now it is time for the ultimate showcase. What can this case do? Well, at the back here it has a 10,000 milliamp battery, and with some connections. I have 2 free USB ports. I have a little red cable there. I have a switch here, and I have a couple of things going on here. But before I go into that, I just want to show you what I've got tucked into the lid. I have got some extra parts. Now I've got the metal bracelet that fits the Fenix. I've got the Fenix cable where I can plug that into one of the 2 ports. I've got some tools here for strap adjustments, or if I want to change the bezel, which I have the DLC bezel there. I also have a spare resin bracelet that is for the GW-B1000. So how does this all work? Well, you probably want to know about this, but I'm going to come back to that in a moment. Well, let's just start off with this one. You probably recognize this from a previous video I made. This is the cool fire, and I have it already wired up. So let me just remove that part there, and then I can turn on the battery on this side, give it one press, and then with a switch there, I have the light, and look at that. I can now get to all my G-Shocks. I can also just leave it like so and close the lid. And because it doesn't get hot, it's not going to be anything catching fire. And then when you're finished, you just remove the light there and turn it off. Remove the protective casing, or the little sort of rubbery sleeve there, and then that just plonks down into there like so. You GPR owners are going to recognize this. This is the wireless charger for the GPR Rangeman. But what have I done different? I have added this. This is a magnetic cable that connects like so. Look at this. Oh, how easy was that? And because it's flexible and it bends like this, it doesn't matter how you have it in the box or whether you're wearing it on your wrist. I also have a spare cable so I don't have to unplug it from the box. And if you accidentally tugged it somewhere, it just comes apart that easy. Look at that. So when you're in the dark, there is no fumbling at all. Mind you, I could use the Gravitymaster with its torch, but look at that. Now that's got to be a first. And because I've now fixed that into this charger, that's made it more sealed, and also it keeps it all sort of dust proof as well. Now for the ultimate light show, to turn the lights on, I'm using this one at the end, the switch, and I also have a light built in on the battery pack. So let's turn the lights off. I need to turn the power pack on with one push of the button, and if I press the button twice, I get a little red light there. Now if I turn on the other switch, I now have the light there. So let me remove the GPR. Look at that. And I should remove the center one. and you're getting an idea of how this is going. Look at that. Let's take the other one out. That is something special. Please tell me if this is a first. Just to give you an idea that the battery pack that I'm using, it will need charging, but to save unplugging it all and making that side all complicated, I just remove the Gravitymaster, put my finger in there, and I have it all pre-wired on this end with enough cable so I can plug that straight into the mains. I thought of everything. Some of you are probably wondering, why have I done this? Without sounding too big-headed, I simply can, and I have a lot of imagination, and I like gadgets, and in the dark this is the perfect way to sort of find your G-Shock in its right slot. I hope you enjoyed the tour through my cases and to see the ultimate G-Shock case. Anyway, that is the times, and as always, thanks for watching.